Women and Girls in Transportation Initiative. As it says on the screen, it was established in 2009 by the White House. And we had Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood announced a pilot program. And in 2012, it was changed in order to reflect the inclusion of a broader focus area, such as private partnerships and business development training and resources. The mission is increase the participation of women in the transportation industry and prepare young women to become our nation's future leaders. Our goals here show the WITI program is to identify, educate, attract, and retain women and girls in the transportation industry. The program includes outreach, partnerships, business development training, the WITI Advisory Committee, and transportation internship resources. Need to see, do we have any WITI Advisory Committee members on? Ms. Amber Gooding is a advisory committee member, and I'm looking, I can't see. Okay, next. Today, our speakers will be Ms. Cynthia Howard. She's a Title VI Program Director, Tennessee Department of Transportation. Ms. Davita Taylor, Vice President at the Nashville Metropolitan Airport Authority, BNA. And Ms. Amber Gooden, she's Director at the Metropolitan Nashville Transit Authority. And WIGO. Yes. Okay, now, we're gonna begin now, first topic. Our speakers would tell us about their career in the transportation industry. Okay, go first. Who would like to go first? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you were gonna call on who was gonna go first.
Okay, Ms. Amber. So we'll go.
Okay. Would you like for me to go first, Beth?
Yes, you may.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This looks like we've got a really, really good group of people here today. My name is Amber Gooding. I am the Director for Procurement and Business Diversity at Nashville Metropolitan Transit Authority. And I guess within the last 2 years, the organization has created sort of an umbrella branding for purposes of branding, really, called WIGO Public Transit. So for those who are in Nashville, you know that we are the purple buses, so you can't miss us out there on the streets and everything. So just to work a little bit maybe backwards, well, not backwards. So you asked us to talk a little bit about our careers in transportation. And I'm probably not unlike the other two speakers on the panel, having been asked this question before. And so to be frankly very transparent, I did not necessarily plan a career going into transportation. And I think that's probably one of the things that hopefully we might change that dynamic for young ladies to actually do that. But I stumbled into it. My college education and then subsequently an MBA is in economics and finance. So business and finance is really, I guess, my forte, and what I really saw very young going into some aspect of that, whether that was banking. Early in my career, I worked for a healthcare institution in business development. And then after relocating back to Nashville, which is where I was born, I ended up joining the Metropolitan Nashville Airport Authority to head up what was then called their DBE program, and we rebranded it to Business Diversity. And I was there for 5 years, and the focus being to manage to increase outreach, participation, involvement of minority and women-owned businesses in all of the airport's contracting. Um, I then had the opportunity to do the same thing moving to St. Louis, Missouri. That program was a little bit different. It not only encompassed the airport, but the entire city's local programs. So that would be synonymous to Nashville City and Nashville Airport's programs being combined. So I was there for 7 years. And after 7 years, Nashville has always been home. We returned and I joined WeGo Public Transit. So, transportation is an awesome area, I will say, and I think by the fact that I was at 2 airports and now came over to transit, I think speaks for the fact that there are lots of interesting aspects about transportation. And what you have the opportunity to come to learn is that there's a whole business behind this. So when I first came to Nashville Airport, I really hadn't thought much about airports beyond, okay, flying in and out. Never really had thought about, okay, there's an accounting department, there's a business development, there's a legal, there's a marketing, and so forth. So, sort of found my niche area and passion joining that airport, and then leveraged that when actually my husband had a great business opportunity to pursue, and we moved to St. Louis and came into the exact same role. So, what awesome foundation and experience I gained from Nashville to be able to come in to that airport and that city program. And again, it's been just a continuous building, and then again leveraging that, and then coming back to Nashville with WeGo.
Mhm.
So I'll just kind of pause there because I know you want to get in,
Mhm.
questions, and we've got 2 other panelists to hear
Yes.
from. So
Okay. Ms. Davita Taylor, would you like to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Davita Taylor, and I currently am the Vice President of Procurement and Business Diversity at the Metropolitan Nashville Airport Authority, as Ms. Beth said. I have been here about 13 years, and in part of those 13 years, there was an overlap with Amber. Amber actually brought me into the airport world, but I was not new to transportation. So for me, and it's very similar because I didn't even realize this about Amber and myself, we both were past bankers. And I did not realize that because again, initially I would have never thought that I would have a career in transportation at all. My background is I'm a finance major. And so my undergrad is in finance. I have a master's in management. So again, it's that whole business background that Amber and I both share. And so I had no idea that I would really end up in that. And so kind of a reverse from Amber, I started part of my transportation career in Memphis. And so I worked for a council in Memphis who handled some supplier diversity things that happened in the city between the airport and the city itself. And so I got my start in transportation in dealing with that entity. And that is how I began my relationship with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. And I'll say that they wooed me to come and hang out with them, and more specifically, a young lady who works for FHWA now, Federal Highway, Joy Hamilton, wooed me to come over and work at the Tennessee Department of Transportation. So I had a stint over at TDOT for a little while. From there, I went to go work for the city, doing the same kind of supplier diversity work is what I'll call it, the DBE programs, people's local, small, minority and women-owned business enterprise programs. So I landed at Metro for about 5 years, and then ran into Amber Gooding, who brought me over to the airport authority to work with her. As she said, she was building the program there. And then after Amber left, I became the director of business diversity development and kind of moved my way up and around. I have been director of that. I have been chief of staff, and to now my current role as vice president of procurement and business diversity. for me, I have always been involved in procurement or contracting in some shape, fashion, or form my entire career, which is what I fully oversee now. In dealing in procurement, that means our $1.5 billion expansion that we're doing out here at the airport. We head up all the buying for that. So all the construction that's happening out here at the airport, if you've been out here, we are continuing to break records. We have rebounded since the pandemic, which is great because at one point we only had 545 people coming through this airport one day, which, yes, Amber, exactly. So that was just a gut punch for us because we're used to seeing anywhere between 16, 17,000 people in here a day. Now we broke a record last weekend of having 19,000 people in here in one day. So we have rebounded well from that. But again, just to piggyback off some of the things that Amber said, there's a lot to do in transportation. When I go out and I talk about it being a small city, specifically this airport. We have everything that you could think of that a small city would need. And handling procurement, we kind of oversee a lot of that and what happens from the stores inside as well. And so there's a lot going on. So it's really just a small city. And I have enjoyed my journey into transportation. But again, I just fell into it. And I'm hoping that having these conversations will turn that. It'll be more intentional for women and young ladies to get involved in the transportation industry because it is wide open at this point.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll have Miss Cynthia Howard will come up next. Here's your information on the screen, Ms. Howard. You're on mute.
There you go.
Okay.
First, let me begin with thanking WITI for inviting me to participate on this panel. I enjoyed listening to Amber and Davida. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Davida, but certainly I've heard about her. I have had the pleasure of working with Amber Gooding. And like Amber said, I accidentally ended up in transportation. I'm glad I landed here. Briefly, my career started with the Marine Corps. Following the Marine Corps, I joined the Tennessee Human Rights Commission. I worked there for several years before meeting Amber, who became the executive director. At the Tennessee Human Rights Commission, I had the honor of working as the Title VI program director. And when Amber came aboard, she noted my communication skills and made me a communications director. Following that, I went to the private sector as an executive director with AT&T, an executive accountant with AT&T. From there, I joined TDOT. I've been with TDOT for 13 years, serving as a Title VI program director. I'd like to acknowledge my director, Vince Malone. In the Civil Rights Division, we have 3 programs, one being the Title VI program, Small Business Development, and the EEO Affirmative Action Program. For those of you who are not aware of what Title VI is, Title VI is one of the 11 acts of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. In short, it says if you get federal money, you cannot discriminate on the grounds of race, color, and national origin. My staff and I, we monitor the subrecipients, the grantees of TDOT. So if a local government, a university, a college, a little nonprofit, even a transit agency, if they receive money through TDOT, federal money and or state money, then they fall under the terms of Title VI. So we monitor for compliance. We do that on we do that every 3 years. You'll either get an on-site or desk review, or you will get a document that we call a no change affidavit that says, hey, we hadn't had any changes, or we have had changes. TDOT has a little over 400 subrecipients, grantees. In the event that there are allegations of discrimination in a program or activity that is receiving federal funds or state funds, then we'll investigate those. We also provide training internally to roughly about 4,000 TDOT employees annually. We train our subrecipients. They are required to have Title VI training. We have an online Title VI training, and we also would do regional trainings. Every quarter, we would do a training throughout the state. We come to do those virtually. And of course, we report all of those activities.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
The next topic that we will cover are careers in the transportation industry. And they touched on it a bit in their introduction. And now our speakers would expound a little further. Anyone could just go first, whomever.
I don't mind jumping in.
All right, Ms. Taylor.
So for us, as I talked about just a little while ago, working at the airport is like working for a small city. And in that, it has numerous amounts of careers and avenues that you could choose, from being an accountant to being a project manager, to being an engineer, you name it, even being a graphic artist. We have a graphic artist that's here on board with us as well. So if you're interested in art in any shape, fashion, or form, we do that. We have a music and arts coordinator, and you won't believe this, but we actually have our own curator, because the Airport Authority has probably it has the second largest art collection in the city. And so we display that art all over the airport, in our administration buildings, as well as inside our terminal as well. So it's a wide range. Again, like I said, you could even be a police officer here, or a fireman. We have all of those things because we're required by FAA guidelines to have our own security, as well as to have our own fire as well. And so we respond to emergencies just like Metro or any other police department or fire department would respond as well. We've got engineers that are here as well. We have internships that are available for individuals. So if you are interested in some shape, fashion, or form to do some kind of work at the airport, and most of those internships are either in our finance area, dealing with our accountants, our accounts payable, treasury management, or engineering. So if you're interested in being an engineer at all, we have those internships available as well. We have one right now in human resources. So if that's something that you are interested in, we have human resources available to you. Currently, we've got about 19 openings at our organization that run from a dispatcher to a maintenance specialist. So if you're interested and you're mechanical and you're good at working with your hands, we have opportunities here for you. We have a baggage handling system that, rotates our bags and makes sure that your bags get on your flight. Well, we have people behind the scenes who work on those things. We have people who work on the controls for those systems. So if you like dealing with electronics, we have that availability. If you're an IT-oriented individual, we have a whole IT staff. They help our help desk, as well as make sure, all of our products work, our parking. So when you come in and you put your credit card in, that system is managed by our IT department. So we've got a wide range of opportunities that we've got here at the airport. We also have a brand new maintenance apprenticeship program where we're training individuals to become electricians. And so if you don't want to go and get a college degree, if you want to have a trade and develop a trade, we have an apprenticeship program specifically right now for electricians, but we're looking to widen that to our HVAC and to our plumbing systems. So there are just a numerous amount of opportunities. And the easiest way, there you go. Thank you, Ms. Beth. The easiest way to find those is to go to flynashville.com and look under careers. And it has all the things that I just talked about and ways to get into those individual careers, as well as looking at what our openings and opportunities are right now. So we go down from entry level all the way to executive level in terms of what we're looking for right now.
Okay. Next.
I'm happy to jump in there next, Beth.
Okay.
All right. So what I'll do is just, I guess, sort of add a little bit more to that. I won't repeat the same careers because actually, in transit, lots of similarities with the exception of, no, we don't have an airfield, but we have bus routes. So that's then the interesting and challenging part is I transitioned from aviation to transit. is that we are spread out. I love, when Davita says it is, you know, airports are like it's their own city. And I'll have to say, I kind of miss that because you have everything from all the restaurants, everything right there. Transit's a little bit different. It is more, on the ground, in the neighborhoods, things like that. Um, and just like in aviation, um, we have similar career paths, needs for marketing, communications, finance, legal. Our biggest need right now is in bus operators and mechanics. Um, and so this is an area particularly that we are seeing a few more women trickle into. But we are spreading our recruitment and really trying to, in terms of ensure that we're reaching out to all sectors. Not too long ago, a lady by the name of Elizabeth Duff, she recently passed away. She was the first Black and woman to drive a bus for what was in Nashville Transit Authority, and spent a long career with us. And later on this year, we'll be honoring her in a more formal way. But yeah, so it's kind of a non-traditional route, but it's a very important one. There, lots of opportunities in terms of building a career. The other area I'd just like to touch on is the planning area. So didn't really realize in terms of that there's a whole sector, not just for engineering, but actually we call transit planners. And more than likely, Cynthia might speak to this coming from TDOT, because we've seen a few people who have actually exited those organizations and start their own businesses as consultants. So that's nice to see as well, that these can be a springboard actually to also people developing their own businesses.
All right, so we will go to Miss Cynthia Howard next.
Can we advance a little bit? Opportunities ahead. No, go back. Right there. Thank you. Can you go back to careers there? Thank you. What I want to say about TDOT is, I had said earlier, we're about 4,000, a little less than 4,000 strong. 21% of that population, they're females. And they work in many capacities. One of the positions that you'll see, I think currently advertised, as operations technicians. But women fill many billets, from accounting to finance to, like Amber said, planning, public relations, procurement. In our office, we have affirmative action officers, contract compliance officers. We even have a safety division.
Mhm.
The one thing about it is, we have 26 divisions, 4 regions. We all have different missions, but certainly we have the same goal. That goal is to provide safe infrastructure, safe roads. We deal with railway, waterway, of course, roadway, and I'm leaving out something. Transit. So we are a big division. We have help trucks, flight place, the bridge repair. There are many opportunities for women within TDOT, within the transportation business. Whether you want to get your hands dirty, work out there in construction, or whether you want to help design roads and deal with the composite of the roads, or deal with traffic ops, looking for safety, making sure, doing safety studies, making sure the road designs are safe. We've got auditors. It's a little city within itself. We have a lot of opportunities, and the good thing about it, and I'm going to talk about it in the next section, is because we've seen women who have started, let's say, in HR, have moved to IT, and then have moved on up to actually head up a division. The good thing about transportation, particularly within TDOT, you have an opportunity to stay. I've been with TDOT 13 years, so serving in the same role, but certainly I've seen people make lateral moves and make upward moves. A variety of positions. It just depends. Whether or not you want to be administrative, or whether or not you want to actually put on those work boots and get out in the field.
Thank you very much. That covered a lot. And our next topic, we say you guys, but now we have women, you all women. I have to catch myself. We are going to discuss why should women consider a career in the transportation industry, particularly. Go forward, Ms. Amber.
All right. Well, you know what? That's probably the easiest question out of all the ones that you posed. Yes. And Cynthia, thank you for that breakdown just of from the TDOT perspective. I'm making some little notes. I need to make sure that we've got some similar information. But what stood out? Why should women consider a career in transportation? Because we're underrepresented in transportation, and there's lots of room for opportunity there. It is really, I think, very rewarding and fulfilling, and I'm sure hopefully everybody who's listening and participate sees that coming through from all three of us, that we've spent pretty much the adult life of our careers in this area. So there's definitely a passion, that there's a need. And I think the most compelling reason is that any organization, whether it's transportation, healthcare, education, can only be made better by having diverse representation. And so when women are not at the table, we've seen it firsthand. I'm sure my colleagues have too. There are things that we think about in a different way. And when those are missed opportunities for those voices to be heard, in the planning especially, then you can come out with a different product or outcome. So I would just say that, I mean, more than anything, it's needed, and women should consider it, and it's a great career path.
Great. So we'll go next with Ms. Taylor.
I absolutely echo exactly what Amber said. It's wide open. The transportation industry is really wide open right now for women. Along with what Amber said about diversity of thought, absolutely. Women are on the road a lot. We're in the air a lot. We juggle a lot. So why not have our thoughts represented and us represented inside that industry? But also for me, one of the things that I know young people don't always think about, but it's longevity and stability. That's one thing for sure that the transportation industry can provide to you, whether you're operating in the public sector or in the private sector, because transportation is always going to be around in some facet, some shape, fashion, or form, and it's ever evolving. And so that's the amazing thing about it. It is always continuing to evolve. And that's one of the exciting things for me about it, is that it's evolving. Every day that I work here at the airport, it is something new. It is something different that I encounter. I come in and I plan my day to be one way. By the time I leave, it's something absolutely, totally different. It is never boring. And so if you're looking for something that will keep you busy, keep you intrigued, keep you thinking, the transportation industry is really that place for you, because it's wide open. And as you see here represented, you've got several different modes. You've got an airport, you've got a transit, you've got a whole entire department of transportation that covers all of those things. So there's lots of areas that you can go into in the transportation industry, but it also can be a springboard for you. It can be a springboard for you, whether you're in the private sector and you now want to jump into the public sector. there's always opportunity in transportation. If you're in the public sector and then you want to jump out into private sector, that subject matter expertise that you've garnered from being in the transportation industry is transferable. They can be transferred back and forth, as well as if you want to be an entrepreneur and do your own consulting. There are lots of opportunities there as well to work for yourself in the transportation industry, because once you garner a lot of experience working either private or public sector, you've got that portfolio that you could use and work for yourself. Because I think the programs that we all kind of deal in and deal around also deal with entrepreneurs. And so that's an opportunity there for you. And that's something very unique that transportation can provide to you as well. So you can private sector, public, or entrepreneur. So at this point, it's game on. It is wide open at this point in transportation.
All right. We'll have Ms. Howard.
Thank you. I like to say that if you are considering a career in transportation, I have provided a link to Zipia. I don't know if we have time to go there, but it shows the salaries across the United States. I don't know that it's going to pull up correctly. We can try it, but it's not bad pay. It's pretty good pay.
Is that it?
It's
You
not.
guys see that?
Is it pulling up? I'm not showing it.
Share that screen, Beth. Now go over and share that screen.
You know what, we can, I can provide the link later and the participants can look at it. But I was very pleased with it because it showed salaries across the US, and it's very good salaries. So do take, okay, here we go. If you could go down to the map of the US. Can I drive it? Am I driving it? Okay. If you see here, okay, it's not interacting with me, but it shows countrywide the salaries. It gives an average of the transportation salaries. Very good visual, it's interactive. I encourage you all to look at that so you can get an idea of what the salaries look like. There
You guys see it?
Yeah.
Tennessee has the average of 74,441.
Wonderful.
So anyway, it's a good
Amazing
tool.
site.
I'm sorry?
It's an amazing site. It's definitely useful.
Yeah, it's a good tool. It can tell you about different positions, about different pay. So do take some time and go to that site. I found it very informative.
Yes. Okay,
Okay,
can you
if we-
keep scrolling down?
No, I'm ready to go back to the presentation. I just wanted people to know that that's out there and that can give you a good idea of what you could make
Okay.
in the transportation industry.
There you go.
Okay, other reasons, personal fulfillment. I know for myself, working within the Civil Rights Division, we have an opportunity to observe public meetings, to interact with Tennesseans. We review environmental justice documents, which basically what that is whenever TDOT is getting ready to start a project, depending on the complexity of it and depending on how many people, the environment and everything else that it's going to touch, then it has to do an environmental assessment. We pay close attention to the minority and low income individuals to make sure that the transportation decisions that we're making aren't harmful. So I get personal fulfillment out of that. When you look at the small business development program within the Civil Rights Division, they work with the small businesses, the minority-owned, the female-owned businesses, and they work with them to grow them up to large businesses, to help them get in the door. We like to say we make the playing field equal. So it's about helping people, but then you have the IT section, we couldn't do anything without our IT section. Certainly, particularly in today's time when most of us are working from home, we rely heavily on our IT staff. Then again, going back to environment, clean air. They have to make sure that when they're doing the environmental division, when they're doing a NEPA study, they look at the noise impact, due to construction, or once we put a highway through it, how is it going to impact this community? So a lot goes into it, which I think is great. When you look at the fact that we have driverless cars now, when you look at the fact that we do look at emissions, it's so much involved around transportation, and certainly those roles are there. Also about stability, which I think Davida spoke on it. Again, when you can go into an organization and make lateral moves, or even stay in your position if you're happy with it, or be promoted up. It's a very stable, or I found it to be a very stable environment that offers the opportunity for advancement. So I think it's a good career. I think women should certainly consider it, because even if you like putting on the boots, I can say when I was in the Marine Corps, camouflage boots, the hat, the helmet, all of it. Certainly I'm older, I enjoy the pleasure of an air-conditioned office, but there are women who do gravitate to that. But certainly, whether you want to go into engineering, whether you want to work on road designs, and the planners, to me, there's nothing more rewarding than being a planner. You get to project 25 years out what Tennessee is going to look like, as far as technology, as far as the demographics, and you plan and work toward that. To me, that is so rewarding. So anyway, I could talk on and on. I could talk about HR. I mean, who wouldn't want to bring people into your organization and start them out at the bottom through an internship, which TDOT offers that. Mm-hmm. I could talk on and on about the different divisions and what they do. Again, we have different missions, but we have the same goal, and that's to provide a good transportation infrastructure that's safe. That's all.
Wonderful. So, and you had that slide.
Yes. If you could click one more time for me.
Yes.
One of the things I talked about was the stability within TDOT. These are some women. First of all, they're division directors. We have Delane Linville, who is the Assistant Chief of Administration and the Director of HR. She's been with TDOT for a whole bunch of years. I don't want to age Delane. You have Jennifer Hersteck, who is over finance. And these are women in leadership roles. You have Susan Nieswick, who is over the environmental division, and Jennifer Lloyd, again, over our, Jennifer is over roadway design, Heather Howell over material and tests. And I want to pause a little bit to talk about Michelle Frazier. I've watched her career and have been highly impressed. She started with HR. Then she made a move to, I think, a project manager with IT. And now here she is. She is the aeronautics division director, which I applaud her. She has made leaps and jumps. Also, Beth Emmons. The thing about Beth is she's the community relations director. She was promoted from within. And like I said, TDOT embraces the talents that they have in-house, as well as recruit talents outside. So there's a lot of opportunities, and certainly women have leadership billets within TDOT. I conclude with that.
Great. So with that, we are happy to hear of all the opportunities and wealth of knowledge that we women will go on and control and rule. They do say we have better interpersonal relationship skills along with our skill sets, others. So that shows with those promotions and women in high positions and average position, and I could say on the road in the trenches. So questions and answer time. Does anyone have any questions they want to type into chat at this moment to
Yes,
ask any of our panelists?
as we get to that and the questions come, I just wanted to take a moment again to say thank you for the presentations that were provided for us, the way they were presented, the detail, the passion, the interest in their career fields, and the willingness to share. What we hear in Washington from the Director Scales and her team is that they're going to elevate the WITI conversation. And this is a precursor to that elevation of that conversation. And we're just so excited about what's coming down the pipe. And I just say, ladies, get ready, because there is a great conversation from a pathway perspective. We're going to focus on young girls and in the earlier years as they progress through. And we're just excited that they can see examples of how it's done right, examples of what they can become if they apply themselves, and real life stories of what can happen if you do invest in yourself. So on behalf of our USDO team and our local team in Atlanta, we're just so appreciative of what you guys have provided. And now we're just dealing with any questions and answers that we can have. And I was just so doing amazed at what I saw. And I've known some of you ladies for a while. It's just, I'm always surprised as to what happens when you all get together and make things come to life. Thank you again.
We had one question. It asked, can we go back to what you can make it a slide? Can we go back and make it a slide? And I provided, I assume that was a zippia.com, zippia.com. That's the site that Miss Cynthia Howard had shared with us about information in the industry. And the next question is from Miss Kira Butler. She had a question. So is this about career jobs in transportation or business opportunities? And Miss Howard and Taylor all spoke about the career jobs in the transportation in their respective companies and about being, and Miss Amber talked about the contract opportunities. Am I correct, you guys? So there's also opportunity as for the entrepreneurs getting contracts in each of these agencies and authorities. And the next question was, can we be providing an email list of the contacts from this presentation? Yes, I will. And I will also give you my email address and Mr. Dixon so that you can contact us. Ms. P. Ford, A.P. Ford said that the question is, I just tapped into the trucking dispatching industry and working in corporate America for 5 years as a dispatcher. I've decided to start my own business. What insight you may provide for me getting owner operators as carriers? I provide dispatching services to carriers. Anyone want to take that on? Can you hear me?
I can take a stab at part of that.
Okay.
Smart move, because absolutely the trucking industry is wide open. As you can tell, if you look out right now, every time I turn on the news, they talk about the cargo sitting in the bay in California because you can't get truckers to get over there and pick up the stuff. So there is a shortage of that. So I would definitely say that's definitely a smart move right now. And as you delve into that, make sure that you take into account all your costs, from your insurance to your upping your licenses again, making sure that you've got all of those things, and that you've got a definite dispatch system that is adequate and fast moving and can respond 24/7, because that's one of the things that we find here is that we're a 24/7 operation. We need truckers as well because we're working on our project still in the middle of the night. So we need people who can work 24/7 and who are available and who we can contact. So that would be part of my advice to you. And I
Oh.
do have, I see somebody asked a question about a mentor. I have a couple of people, once they give you our email, that I can point you to who have been in the trucking industry for a long time.
Another question is Ms. Stacy Neal. I am an entrepreneur with a graphic design business, and I'm interested in doing business with TDOT in the Nashville airport. And she is located in Atlanta. She's very interested in doing a face-to-face. Is that a possibility? If so, who should she contact regarding graphics design with TDOT and the airport?
For TDOT, she would need to contact David Neese. He's the program director for the Small Business Development. I can provide his number if she wants to write it down.
Okay.
615-253-1075.
And so for the
Mr.
airport,
Uh-huh.
I'm the contact person. It would be me, because part of my responsibility is our business diversity development, which handles our small businesses. And so it would be me who she could reach out to have that dialogue and that conversation with on connecting in terms of being able to do work out here.
Okay. And Mr. Neese was on this webinar. He logged in with TDOT. And the next question is from Joshua Briggs. Who do construction companies reach out to with Hub Zone DBE status to perform work with TDOT?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was reading the questions.
Okay. Who do construction companies reach out to with Hub Zone DBE status to perform work with TDOT?
I am going to have to, defer that to David Neese.
David, yeah, he's on the call too as well. So he's on the call. He's chiming in. So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
He put his contact information in the chat.
He
Okay.
sure did. Great guy. Thank you, David.
So Mr. Joshua in chat, Mr. David Neese has provided his information there.
So Beth, I think if you, like you said, when you follow up, you provide all of our contact information, because Davida and I have very similar, roles. We have the diversity and the procurement opportunities, but we're all certifying partners too, as well, for the DBE program. So it's the same process, same application, whether you do it at the airport or with TDOT or with us, MTA. For those of you who are interested or thinking about getting certification, I always advise look at maybe perhaps the partner that you go to where you're looking to target your business as well. You can choose any one of us, but certainly if during that process, airport's got big projects, TDOT's got big projects, things like that. We have projects, but ours are on a much smaller scale. And so I will say then on that note, if you're a small business just getting started and so forth, it's probably a little bit easier to work with us on some construction projects because they're going to be smaller bites. But at any rate, that's just a sort of unsolicited advice.
Okay, we had a question. It was Miss Candace. That's the young lady who said, I'm a new business owner in the trucking industry, and I would love any mentorship that any one of you are willing to provide to my company. And a Miss Kira replied and also said she can assist the other person, Miss Kira Butler, and that the young woman would need to take a dispatching course. And you may seek Miss Kira Butler, KIRABUTLER, on Facebook groups for carriers and market herself. And if you have any comment about her, that trucking industry mentorship.
Like I said, I can put her into touch with some of our truckers who've been doing it for a long, long time. And so she's got my contact information because you're going to provide it so she can reach out and we'll send her to the right people.
Okay, so that's Ms. Davida Taylor speaking, Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Candace. and I will email the panelists and contact information to you guys. Miss Sonia in Memphis says, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm interested in doing transportation for the city of Memphis and or the airport there. I assume she's talking about the airport in Nashville. The airport, the contact airport in Memphis is it
It's
Copeland?
Mr. Joe Jackson.
Joe Claiborne.
But, you know,
Joe
Claiborne.
yeah,
Yeah, Joe
not
Claiborne.
Jackson, but yeah, Claiborne, absolutely. And also, we will be in that area next Thursday, so if we could set a one-on-one with her, we would be glad to meet with her and share any opportunity that we can in relationship that we can on next Thursday.
So Ms. Sonia, my email address will be at the end of this presentation, and Mr. Dixon, give us a call and we can schedule for you to meet with Mr. Dixon, and he also will be meeting with Mr. Claiborne and can follow up with you in that way. Anyone with DBE question can email Mr. David Neese at david.neese@tn.gov. That's DAVID.N as a Nancy, EESE@tn.gov. And Ms. Candace asked, who would I contact to discuss post-construction cleaning projects for my business?
I would say certainly get registered as a DBE. And again, I would point you to David Neese.
Okay.
And for the airport, she can reach out to me.
Airport, Ms. Davita Taylor.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are past our 3 o'clock mark. We had very robust questions, conversations. I will provide everyone with the speaker's contact information. Let's see if there's any more questions. Copy that, thank you. That's all of them.
Ms.
Yeah.
Beth, can I add just one thing? I know we've been talking a lot about business opportunities, but I wanted to double back and make sure that I mentioned one thing in particular about women in transportation is what is always a good thing to do is grab a mentor and make sure that you grab a really good mentor. I would grab a male and a female mentor in the transportation industry because they can really be beneficial to your career. They can help you navigate some of your journey in that. So for me, that is a very important thing to have because again, there's still not enough women in the transportation industry. And so make sure that you grab a good mentor or a couple of them.
And I would like to add, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's called Special Services. Is that correct, David? But the Small Business Development Program works with this service, and they provide a lot of guidance to new small businesses. I can't speak directly to it, but certainly reach out to David because he has all the information, but they help you set up your business. They help you, oh, he said he stepped away. They help you set up the business. They provide a wealth of information as well as help with new or just a small business. So definitely reach out to David and ask him about that as well.
Okay. At this point now, we will get ready to end. And our next webinar, WITI webinar, will be the WITI Leadership Series webinar. It will be the South Carolina Administrators in Transportation, and on November the 30th, and at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time. And the speakers there will be Ms. Pamela Foster of the Federal Highway Administration, Ms. Joy Riley of South Carolina DOT, and Dr. Arlene Prince. She's with the Comet, and also that is the regional authority transportation there in Columbia. Is it Columbia or Richland County authority? And also we will have one person, I think, spoke about the series with the CEOs. In January, we will go back to the CEO roundtable with the Nashville and Tennessee CEOs in transportation. And then we'll go back to South Carolina in February. So Tennessee, we will cover some CEOs there in January, but our next one will be with the South Carolina administrators. We have some more questions. Let's see. We will follow those up. I'll make sure. Any more questions? I'm an individual in Los Angeles, California, interested in dispatching. What is the first step to start a dispatching company? Ms.
We'll have to get
Diane.
back for that. We can get them an answer. That's a big question. We'll be
Yes,
glad to follow up with them. Absolutely. Thank you for that question.
that's Ms. Diane Jerry. So we'll get back with you
Right.
on that. And at this juncture, we greatly appreciate everyone joining. We will email everyone the survey link. Hope we all were very helpful, was beneficial and worthy of your time. Here are our agencies contact. Mr. Hebrew Dixon is at hdixon@msasbtrc.org. My information is bbarner, BBARNER @msasbtrc.org. Our website is www.msasbtrc.org. My direct line to call me is 404-334-0568. And I wanted to acknowledge that we have some WITI Advisory Committee members on, which is Miss Tiffany Jones from South Carolina, and Miss Dee Dee DeMarks is from Atlanta, and Miss Amber Gooding is an advisory committee member. We appreciate all the help that they do with, and like Hebrew stated, they are going to do more coming down from Washington with the WITI initiative. And with that,
And Ms. Beth, before we go, we want to thank you. You did a great job. We appreciate all the effort you did and your passion behind the WITI effort. So we just appreciate what you've done, and we look forward to great things down the road. Have a blessed day.
All right, you guys, stay dry. We have a storm coming, and stay safe.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm. That's it.
I can't get it. I'm trying to.
Hit end. Leave.
I know.